All right. Hey, Merry Christmas. We've been in a series at Westwood that we've titled Christmas Stories, as we've been looking at how the story of Christmas changes lives. And our goal through this series is not just to look at the stories of old, but to see how the story of Christmas changes lives today. And so today I want to talk about how the Christmas story is a story of joy. Now, there are a lot of things about the Christmas season that makes us feel joyful. I mean, we love to gather with family and friends and to kind of participate in just being together and to kind of complete some of those family traditions, as weird as some of them may be. Like, some of you have some really weird Christmas traditions, but you look forward to it because they're special to you, and your kids say, we have to do this. In the Harrington family is that we have to eat at Applebee's for Christmas Eve. And you may wonder, why Applebee's, right? Well, 20 years ago, we're at Westwood, and Westwood had an 8 p.m. Christmas Eve service. And so you don't get out until about 9:15, 9:30, so we're driving around Olympia. We're tired, we're hungry, looking for a place that will feed us. And Applebee's was like the only restaurant that was open, and so we ate at Applebee's. The next year, we did the same. And then the third year, we said to the kids, well, where do you want to go and eat? And they're like, well, we have to eat at Applebee's. And so every year, we've been eating at Applebee's. We haven't liked it for 3 years, but we still go because it's a tradition. We have to do it. We love to feel joyful around this season. We look at all of our Christmas lights and all of our decorations, and we can turn anything into this winter wonderland. We look forward to the Christmas songs and the Christmas movies, watching It's a Wonderful Life, or maybe it's Elf. But all of these just gives you these feelings of nostalgia and just being together as a family. But the thing that I love the most, and parents, you could probably relate to this, is that what makes me feel kind of the most joyful is watching my kids open up the gift. And you know which gift that I'm talking about. It's the gift that your kids have been subtly or not so subtly hinting for weeks and months. It's the gift that when you said, if you only get one thing for Christmas, this is the gift. This is the gift that, like a Christmas Story where he puts the Red Ryder BB gun advertisement into Mom's magazine to make sure that she knows this is the one that you want. And as parents, we get almost just as excited as the kids getting ready to open up that gift, waiting in anticipation to see their reaction. And your kids open it up, and all of a sudden, like, you get just, their face lights up, right? Like, all of a sudden, this high-pitched squeal that just comes out. You don't know where it came from, but it's coming. They can't contain their joy. They're bouncing up and down, and sometimes you get the tears of joy. That's when you know you hit it, right? It's when they can't contain joy, and they're crying because they're so excited about this. Now, as parents, what we know is that this joy will not last. That this toy that got them so excited on Christmas morning in 2 weeks or 4 weeks will make them the same excitement. Like, they will just throw it in their room. Or this outfit that they loved so much that they wanted, the name brand and all this, they put it together, and it's the outfit that they wore back the first day of school to show all their friends. It's not going to make them excited anymore because maybe their friends have that outfit. Maybe it's out of style. Maybe it's like, I can't wear that outfit anymore. I mean, if we think about it, Goodwill is filled with stuff that once made us excited, right? Like, we go into Goodwill and we can look at the toys, we can look at the clothes, and all of that at one point probably gave someone joy. Someone made someone smile, and now we're freely giving it away. I don't even want it in our house. See, what we learn is that joy, cannot be found in our circumstances or in our stuff. Everlasting joy is not going to be found in the things that we have. And so today I want to look at a group of men that found joy not in their success, not in their stuff, not in their circumstances. They found it in Jesus. So if you have your Bibles, I would love for you to open them up to Matthew chapter 2 as we look at the story of the wise men. Matthew chapter 2, if you don't have a Bible, there is a black Bible in front of you, and you can grab that and open it up to page 807. And you're welcome to take that Bible home as our gift to you. we're going to have the verses up on the screen as well, so you can follow along there. But as you're turning there, we're going to kind of divide our time up into three parts. We're going to look at the search for joy. Then we're going to look at the distractions from joy. And then we're going to look at the fulfillment of joy. All right, so let's look at the search of joy. And we're going to start reading in verse 1 of Matthew chapter 2. It says, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, the wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and we have come to worship him.'" Now, the wise men were kind of like these high-ranking officials that kind of specialized in religion and politics. They specialized in interpreting dreams and studying the stars, and so dignitaries and kings and queens would come all over the place to come and ask and seek their advice, and so they would use their wisdom based off of astrology, based off of dream interpretation, to give guidance to these leaders and again, these kings and queens. And so they had this special role. If you want to see a little bit more about their role and responsibility, you can look in the Old Testament book of Daniel, where they're giving advice to King Nebuchadnezzar and all that. You can see a little bit more, the same Daniel, lion's den, all that. But here is that one night is that they're looking out. They're looking out at the sky and the stars, and they see something significant. They see his star. They see the star that they have been looking for hundreds of years, waiting for this star to appear. Now, you may be asking, how did they even know to be looking for a star? Like, how did they know that this was his star? Well, that takes us back into the Old Testament about a story about two guys, one named Balak and one named Balaam, right? Two weird names, but that's who they were. And Balak was king of Moab, and he was worried because the Israelites were coming towards his country, and so he wanted to stop them, right? So the Israelites just left Egypt, the most powerful country in the world. God sent 10 plagues, destroyed the Egyptian gods, all that. And so now they're coming, divided the Red Sea, and then they come. And so Balak, king of Moab, is watching the Israelites essentially coming closer and closer to his country, and he's getting worried. He's concerned because they are doing some amazing things, dividing the Red Sea. Like he realizes there is a spiritual thing that's going on here, and that they're not going to be able to defeat the Israelites through a physical battle, that he has to somehow figure out how to defeat the Israelites in a spiritual battle. So he calls Balaam, who's a magician, kind of a wise man at that time, to come and to rain down curses upon the Israelites. And so he thinks he's got this kind of figured out. Hey, he hires Balaam, gives them money. Balaam says, sure, I will rain down curses. And then, thinking that he was going to do that, all of a sudden God intervenes and says, no, you will not rain down curses. You will actually bless the Israelites. So he does that. And Balak says, whoa, time out. I paid you to curse them, not bless them. Let's try it again. So a second time, blessing. Right? Balak is starting to get very frustrated. Balaam said, no, I'll try again. Third time, blessing. And at the end of the third blessing is that we see in Numbers 24:17, Balaam says this, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth. So in this blessing is that Balaam is talking about how there will be a king, a scepter, who will rise out, and that king will be associated with the star. And everyone kind of understood that this prophecy, this blessing, was talking about the Messiah, so that the Messiah would come as king of Israel, and the star will announce it. And so they were waiting, looking for the star to announce that the Messiah has come. And as experts in astrology, they saw the star. It was so obvious to them that this was the star that they had been waiting for, that they dropped everything. They traveled hundreds of miles to come and to find this newborn king. And they thought, if we just have to get to Jerusalem, the capital city of the Jews, then we'll find him. They assumed that everybody would be talking about the birth of the Messiah, that there would be so much pomp and circumstance, there would be such fanfare and excitement that they could go to just about anywhere, and people would say, yeah, come follow me, come, he's 3 houses down to the right, right? Like everyone would know where the Messiah would be because everybody had been there to worship the king. They thought they could just show up. And so they did. They showed up, and immediately they started asking people, where is he who's born King of the Jews? Where is he who's born King of the Jews? And instead of getting like directions and saying, hey, yeah, we were just there, let's go, I'll show you, they were getting other answers like, get lost, right? Like, who are you talking about? Like, we don't have time for this. Where's he who's born King of the Jews? Not today, man. You know, and so they were getting all this, and all of a sudden they start to realize, we're the only ones looking for this guy. We're the only ones looking for the Messiah. His own people, he's 5 miles south of them, his own people are not looking for him. See, all these people were searching for joy somewhere else. When we look at the Israelites in the early century, is that we see kind of the things that they tended to put their joy in. They put their joy in their achievement and successes. They thought, man, if I could just climb the social ladder, if I could just gain this power and influence, if I could just get where I want to go and get this status, then I will have joy. I will be fulfilled. Israelites love to put their fulfillment, think about their joy in their family identity. Well, I came from the tribe of Benjamin, the first king of Israel. Well, I came from the tribe of Judah, the better king, David. Well, I came from, like they were doing like a lot of this and comparing and saying, you know, and so they thought if you came from a good tribe, if your family history was great, then man, you would have great success. And on the flip side, if you came from a measly tribe, well, your story's already written. Because your future is already predicted because your past has already been made. And so therefore, you really can't have a whole lot of joy. The Israelites also put their joy in their obedience and their religious practices. See, they saw God as this transactional person. They had this transactional relationship with God. And so they thought, if I obey God, then God will bless me. And the more that God blesses me, the more he will show me favor and the more joy I will have. So therefore, obedience equals joy. So all these people throughout all of Jerusalem are running around trying to find joy in all these other places. But the only place they can truly find joy was 5 miles south in Bethlehem through Jesus. And I think that we live very similar to the people in Jerusalem. We live very similar to the people in Jerusalem where we're looking for all of these other things. We're looking for joy in our relationships. We think, man, if he will just notice me, if he will just propose, if she will just start to like me, if I can be in this friend group, if I can be a part of this popularity, then I will have joy. Or we start to think that maybe in our achievement and successes, if I can be the top of my class, if I can get that 4.0, if I can make the team, if I can get that part, I'll have joy. Or maybe we think that we can find joy in our achievement and validations. Right? As we look at our social media and we post things and then immediately we go back 10 minutes, an hour, a day later, and we're looking at our likes, we're looking at our shares, we're looking at our views, we're looking at all these because we want to be validated for what we posted. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to put our joy, but our joy doesn't last because we're always needing to find a new post. We're always needing to find a new story. We always need to try to find new followers and all that, and we're just living in this spiral of searching for joy. But true joy is found in Jesus. Jesus is the only joy that will last. Let's take a look at the distractions from joy in verse 3. It says, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him, and assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, For so it is written by the prophet, and you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go and search diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word that I too may come and worship him. Well, Herod was a clever and skilled leader. He played politics really, really well, and he was leading over Israel. And Rome was so impressed by how he was able to kind of keep peace, because at that time the Jews were not really, they didn't really follow along very well. And so, but between Herod's volatile personality and building the temple, he was somehow able to kind of create this peace. And Rome was so impressed with this that they gave him, even though he wasn't a Jew, the title King of the Jews. And Herod loved that title. Herod really liked that title. I get to be king. I get to have my own kind of my people. And so Herod even changed parts of his life, changed some of the things that he ate, changed some of his practices so that people would think that he was a Jew and that this was his people that he was really ruling over. The problem with Herod was that he had a very volatile personality. He didn't trust people very well. And so anytime that he thought that you were whispering behind his back, anytime he thought that you were vying for his power, he would kill you. One of the first people that he went after was his mother-in-law. We could say, well, it's a mother-in-law, right? Like, don't trust her. But anyway, put that one aside. He killed his wife. He killed his sons. Like his whole family. Like he got nervous about anyone who was going for his power. And as soon as he thought that, off with their head. He didn't like it. And so he did this. He had this reputation that he would just get volatile and just kill people anytime that he was nervous, that he was going to lose something. So we can only imagine how Herod must have felt when these royal dignitaries, these royal people come from hundreds of miles into his city and starts to ask, where is he who's born King of the Jews? They were essentially saying, where is the next king? Well, the Bible says that he was troubled. I think that was putting it lightly. He was troubled. Herod immediately starts to plan and scheme. He immediately starts to think, what can I do? He calls the religious leaders, the chief priests, the scribes, and he wants to know where this king is going to be born so that he can go and he can attack him. And so they knew chapter and verse, he's going to be born in Bethlehem, right? And so then he takes that information, calls the wise men in secretly, and he says, okay, here's the plan, okay? You guys want to go and worship him? Bethlehem is where he's going to be born. You go and find him and come back. And if he's there, let me know, and I will worship him too. Well, Herod he's a politician, right? Like he's a good liar. The wise men believed him. They said, sure, we'll do it. Like we will come back and we will tell you exactly where Jesus is. But Herod stayed behind. It's amazing when we look at and compare the two responses between how Herod received the news of Jesus and how the wise men received it. Herod was troubled. Herod was, conflicted, right? Like he was angry. He was upset. Herod, you could look at, had everything going for him in the world. He had position, he had power, he had influence. He was living a very successful life. And when he hears the news about Jesus, all he could think about is what's going to change. All he can think about is what he's going to lose. All he could think about is what is this going to cost him? He saw Jesus as a rival to everything that he built. See, Herod spent all of his time building his little kingdom, and he was going to spend all of his time protecting it as much as he possibly could. See, Herod wanted to be a Jew, But he had the king of the Jews 5 miles south. He had the Messiah, the one that everyone was waiting for, and he could have went. He had everything that he needed. He had the city, he had the scriptures, he had the testimony of the wise men saying, we saw the star, this is happening. He had everything. But he chose to stay behind. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's why when we go to the store, and we're picking out Christmas decorations and buying things for our house. And maybe a lot of us have nativity sets, right? And we pick these out. We have this nativity set, and we have, shepherds and, of course, baby Jesus. We have Joseph and Mary. And we have, again, shepherds and animals and angels and all that. But who do we not have? Herod. Right? There's no little figurine for King Herod here. He was close. He had all the information. He had everything that he needed to come and visit. But he doesn't come. He's missing from our nativity set because he didn't care. He didn't want to come and worship the true King of the Jews. See, Herod was more interested in saving his throne than saving his soul. Herod thought that building the temple, this huge religious building, would give him and earn him the title of being king of the Jews. But Herod completely forgot about what the purpose of the temple was for. To restore God's, before the broken relationship that man had with God, to restore that relationship. And Jesus came to do exactly that, to restore that relationship. But when we think about the wise men had the exact opposite reaction, didn't they? Even though they were Gentiles, not Jews, even though they were hundreds of miles away, not 5, even though they didn't have a great understanding of Scripture, they had a verse, they dropped everything they could to go and see the King. They didn't care what it cost them. They didn't care what they had to lose. They didn't care that it would separate them from their little kingdom. They came. And I think we live in a society that tends to resemble more of Herod than the wise men. That we tend to be people that like to build our little kingdoms, don't we? That we want the power. We want the positions. We want the influence. We want the success. And any time that we hear Jesus or his teachings and it might impact our little kingdom, we kind of hold them away. We say, no, not yet. Let me have my kingdom. Let me sit on the throne first, and then maybe you. Instead of, like the wise men, going and saying, I drop it all for you. See, Jesus says in Luke chapter 9, he says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses or forfeits himself? Jesus is saying that we can gain the whole world and still miss Christmas. That we can be the most powerful person in the world, the next president of the United States, and miss him. We could have more money than Elon Musk and miss a relationship. We could be more popular than Taylor Swift. I don't know, and we still miss Christ because we're trying to build our kingdom. But Jesus offers us a kingdom that's far greater, far bigger, far lasting than any kingdom that we can build. And that's why we can find joy in him. Let's look at the fulfillment of joy in verse 10. It says, when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. So when the wise men started back on their journey, the star reappears and starts to lead them directly to the house. And the verse says that they are exceedingly glad, that they are overwhelmed, that they have joy beyond measure. And by the time they get to Jesus, it's that all that comes out is worship and praise, and they bow down to this child. Imagine that. These wise men, who have probably had dinner with kings and queens, leaders and nobles of people, maybe the emperor of Rome, who knows? It's just people that are high up in position and status and seen basically everything, but yet this child, they bow down. This child that they worship, because they realize this child is far greater than any person that they know. That this child is greater than all of their success. This child is greater than anything they can imagine. And so they worship. We can tell how people think about us by the gifts that they give, can't we? Like if someone just re-gifts us gifts, we're like, okay, all right, we must not be that important. Or if they just kind of give us, if they don't try, right? We know when someone doesn't try, right? It's like, okay. But when they give us a really good gift, when they go through the research of finding that one thing that we want, when they maybe go above, beyond, maybe hit the budget a little bit higher than what they thought they would, like we know, right? There must be value in this relationship. The wise men give Jesus 3 gifts that kind of show what they thought of Jesus. They give him the gift of gold, which emphasizes his royalty. Back in those days, is that kings were often equated with how much gold that they had. King Solomon, seen as one of the most successful king in Israel, it talks about how he had more gold than what could be measured or what could be weighed, right? This talking about his success. They gave him gold because he was king. They gave him frankincense to symbolize his divinity, that the wise men realized that this isn't just a person. This is God in the flesh. Because they use spices to give in an offering and a sacrifice to God, and so this symbolized that. They gave myrrh to emphasize his humanity, to show that Jesus is a person. And we see this when Jesus is being buried in the tomb. They wrapped him up, but they anointed him with myrrh before they did. See, this gift of myrrh is talking and has a foretaste of his impending death. That Jesus came for one reason, that he was born to die. See, the angel talks to Joseph, and we saw this a couple weeks ago, is that he comes to save people from their sins, to take our penalty, to take our place, to substitute as a sacrifice for us. That Jesus' birth says that God so loved us that he gave his one and only Son. That whoever believes in him, he lived a perfect life that we couldn't live. He died the death that we deserve to die. But because he rose from the grave and claimed victory over sin and death, is that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And this is why we have joy. Because Jesus took our sin away. Jesus took the penalty away. Jesus took God's wrath away. And we can have that relationship with him. I love at the end of verse 12, it says, and being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. After they met Jesus, they went a different direction. And when we get to know Jesus, when we have a relationship, our lives will never be the same. Our lives will be forever different, that we will be going a different direction. I want to show you a video of a person whose life was changed because of Jesus. Let's take a look.
So my first memory as a child was this intense sense of fear. It's the only memory I have. My parents divorced when I was 6, and most of my childhood I was rebellious and free. As a teenager, and that carried over into my whole life. As I grew up, I knew who God was, I knew who Jesus was, but I always chose to run the other way. I left home, and I spent the next 25 years pretty much running the opposite way, caught in addictions, trapped in unhealthy relationships, really cultivating that lifestyle of darkness. And then, as a result of a marriage, I came face to face with the reality of my sin. I had vowed to protect somebody, and I had broke that vow. It was then that God really got a hold of my heart and showed me really what was going on inside of me. Still, it took several months before I finally stumbled into a chapel at about 2:30 in the morning and knelt down at an altar and just laid it all out. I laid out the addictions, and he said, I'll take that. I laid out my unhealthy relationships, and he said, you know what, I'll take that. I laid out the deepest, darkest secrets of my life, and he said, I'll take that. After I stood up and I left, I just felt this overcoming amount of peace. For all of my life, I had lived in this fear. I could say that he removed those things, and what he put in place was joy. I came to a place where I recognized that I was hopeless without him. There was no amount of worldly pleasure that was going to satisfy the hole that I had inside of my heart, that I had been carrying around with me since that young experience where I just had that paralyzing sense of fear.
So where has God brought you now? What's he doing in your life?
I haven't looked back. There's 3 things that I practice today. Look for opportunities to share the gospel. Even if that's in my living testimony, the way I walk, the way I talk. I read the Bible every day. I study the Bible. I in fellowship with people of like minds. And then the third thing is that I forgive. I struggled with that for so many years, of holding those offenses, holding the things that people had done to me. And so I just have adopted that Christ-like character of being forgiving when people hurt me or I feel wronged.
I love how he talks about how his life was changed and that he can forgive and that he sees, just sees people differently. There's so many people that had an opportunity to have a relationship with Jesus that day when the wise men came to Jerusalem. I mean, when we look at, again, this nativity set, we don't see Herod. We don't see a chief priest. We don't see religious scholars and scribes. And we also don't see just ordinary people that the wise men were going up and asking, where is he who's born King of the Jews? See, there's no Bob or Bill or Rachel. We don't see that. Hey, there's shepherds and a girl named Rachel that shows up, that came with the wise men. We just see these people. They missed it. More importantly, they missed Christmas. They missed Jesus. We have the story of Christmas. We know what Jesus did and why he came. But I'm wondering today, are we going to miss it? Are we going to just allow this season to pass by and that we're going to just be continuing to look for other things, other places we put our joy, other areas that we want to try to find it? Or will we be like the wise men? Will we come and will we worship? Will we surrender and say all of it is yours? If that is you, if you are here and did I surrender? Today's the day I say I'm not going to live for my kingdom, but I want to be a part of Jesus' kingdom. If that's you, would you be willing to say a prayer with me? This prayer, there's nothing magical about these words, but it's just an expression of our heart of just saying, I know that I've done wrong. I know that I've searched for joy in other places, but I now want to find it in Christ. You can repeat the words that I say inside your heart or out loud. It doesn't matter. But if that's you, would you just say, God, I know that I've been searching in all the wrong areas. I know that I've been finding joy, trying to find joy in places where I shouldn't. But God, I'm ready. I know that you came to die on the cross for me. I know that you came to take my sin. And now I put my life in you. I want to find my joy in you. So I give you my all. In Jesus' name, amen. If you said that prayer with me for the first time, I just want to say welcome, and we want to celebrate with you. We have a gift. As you leave, our ushers will have these green boxes, and inside these boxes is just some information that can help you on your faith journey. That we don't believe that faith should be done alone, that we want to come alongside of you as a family and just be there as much as you'll let us. And so if that is you, as you leave, just ask the ushers. They won't stop you. They ask you for your phone number. They will just hand you one of these green boxes, because we want to help you follow up in this decision with Christ. But if you allow us to come alongside of us, we would like to do that as well. Thank you for being here.